Okay, so I want this to be a really quick, like really quick series about just talking about gods. So the first one we're going to do is Neith. Neith is very different to Smite 1 in a Smite 2 counterpart. People say that she's similar. The only thing that's really similar is her kit, like the abilities are pretty much the exact same, but they do interact differently, right? The big one being, her 2 now leaves a weave, right? Her 3 can also proc weaves, right? They are the big ones, I would say, right? I need to turn infinite stuff on. But outside of that, the 1 also does proc weaves as well. So once you come back to Smite 2, or you start playing Smite 2, you might be trying to backflip and proc a weave. Not going to work anymore. You need the 2 and then 1 the wave, which in my opinion is pretty good. You can also 2 and then 3 a wave if you're lucky to clear it. Big difference as well is Neith is primarily a mage now. I would say that she's all intelligence scaling. So her 1, you might see that it fires a projectile that deals 124 physical damage, but if you look at the damage scaling, it does 50% intelligence. You can also right click on your abilities to see that the root duration scales up in time, right? And it also gives you a bit more like range and radius kind of information. But here, the 2, magical damage. Deal 35 plus 0 magical damage, heals you, blah 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 blah. I'm not a fan of this. What I'll do is that. Keep it pretty simple. So it does magical damage, but it scales 85% intelligence, right? Here, 70% intelligence, and then the ult is 100% for both. So you can still play Neith in the ADC role, and like be a left-click DPS dealer, which is completely fine. But I think her kit leans heavily into intelligence. Now, there are a couple different ways to look at intelligence builds. The early one, obviously it's still early, as everyone's rushing this. This might be bait, I'm not gonna lie. And then in my opinion, one thing that Neith definitely needs is always cooldown. So find cooldown, hit these 2. I'm not a fan of Necronomicon. I know some people really like this item. So this item is 20 cooldown rate, which is a big buff to your abilities, but also it stacks intelligence. So if you do get 3 kills, it's 195 int. Honestly, it is too good to not get. If you think about old Heartseeker and things like that, once you get kills, you're scaling through the roof. The only thing is that you lose 60 prots of each. But as an ETH, you shouldn't really be close. That is a lot. Anything that touches you will be doing true damage with this item. So this is a greedy item. Weldstone, definitely a thing. Weldstone's a high intelligence item, and your cooldown is reduced on your ult only by 20%. Now 20% is massive in Smite 2 because cooldown has been changed to a flat rate. I'll find the information and put it on the screen. So a 20% cooldown buff is quite huge, especially later on. Don't get baited into buying this too early because your cooldown's still going to be too long of a cooldown anyway. Make sure you get a couple cooldown items. And then I think nearly every mage needs an Eldritch Orb. Not gonna lie. I say mage even though it's Neith. This thing's just pure AP, pure intelligence. Helps you hit harder. So with this build, I actually wouldn't be getting these gloves. Like I said, I think everyone's buying these gloves, and I think that's kind of wrong. Not gonna lie. With a full mage item or full mage build, I would probably go Balazai. This is pen, 25% magic pen. Or if I think I'm going overkill here with my cooldown, I can get rid of one of these cooldown items. Right? If I'm going to do a full greedy build with Necronomicon, probably build that first, sadly. Or I won't get Gem of Focus, which feels so wrong. Maybe Bloodbound Book, right? This thing's kind of broken, and I think it's kind of sleeper on a lot of people that are playing Smite 2. 60 int's pretty good, but also like dropping below 30% gives you 10 plus 50% of your int as a HP shield. Not only does this help in sustain, Neith already has crazy high sustain, right, with your 2. See, you do heal quite a bit. When you do get engaged on, which is inevitably going to happen, you pretty much have an automatic shell, kind of like Smite 1's Book of the Dead back in the day. The reason I think this is good, it's very conditional, is that there's no anti-shielding in the game. There is anti-heal. No one's really rushing it, because to be honest, if you are up against a Neith or an Anubis or anything like that, why is there no tier 1 items? Here we are. Ruinous Poison, super good to just grab pretty early. No one's doing it, because that's kind of nerd stuff. And it doesn't have a tier 2. So for this to finish into a good item, you need to finish an entire item, which I think is kind of crazy. I think this item needs a tier 2, but that's another issue. Anyway, 5-minute quick video on Neith. I think that's good enough. Any other questions? I don't know. Leave it in the comments.